distance between, heart.
Chapter 1, The Poem That Starts It All.
Aster scrolled through the vibrant online community dedicated to poetry and stories, the Three Stand Cafe, her heart fluttering at the creativity she found there. It was a haven for writers and readers, a place where they could share their innermost thoughts and connect with like-minded souls. As she clicked on a new thread, a poem caught her eye, written by someone named Calla. Intrigued, Aster read the poem, feeling an immediate connection to the raw emotions expressed within the lines. She left a thoughtful comment praising Calla's talent. To her surprise, Calla responded almost instantly. "Thank you. Your words mean so much to me," Calla typed, her enthusiasm palpable through the screen. Aster felt a rush of excitement. "I'm glad. I'd love to read more of your work. Do you have a favorite piece?" From that moment on, they exchanged messages daily, sharing their poetry and stories and slowly unveiling the layers of their lives. Calla lived in Vietnam, while Aster was in Singapore, but distance only fueled their connection to know each other better and deeper.
Chapter 2, Growing Closer.
As the weeks turned into months, Aster and Calla's conversations deepened, becoming a tapestry of shared dreams and fears. They found comfort in each other's words, exploring everything from their daily lives to the poetry that brought them together in the first place. Every chat, every text, and every video call felt like stepping closer to something beautiful yet uncertain. One evening, as they sat in their respective homes, Aster sipped her coffee while Calla settled into her favorite chair, the soft glow of her lamp casting a warm light around her. "So, how's work going?" Calla asked, her eyes bright with curiosity. "It's been hectic, to be honest. I'm juggling projects and deadlines," Aster replied, trying to sound nonchalant, though a hint of frustration lingered in her voice. "But it's okay. I'm managing. What about you?" Calla leaned back, running a hand through her hair. "Same here. Being an accountant means I'm buried in spreadsheets and reports. The end of the fiscal year is coming up, and it feels like a mountain of work." She chuckled lightly, trying to downplay her stress. "But I find solace in writing. The Three Stand Cafe community keeps me grounded. It's nice to share my poems and read others' works. How's your writing going?" Aster's heart swelled with pride at their shared connection in the poetry community. "I've been working on a new piece. It's about longing and distance inspired by us, I guess." She hesitated, unsure of how much to reveal. "But I don't know if it captures what I feel." "Why not share it? You always find a way to express what's inside," Calla encouraged, her voice soft yet firm. "Okay, I will. But I'm not sure if anyone would relate to it," Aster said, biting her lip, an anxious habit she hadn't shaken off since childhood. Calla's expression shifted, her gaze piercing through the screen. "You'd be surprised. Everyone in Three Stand Cafe has their own experiences with love and distance. It's what makes your words resonate." Their conversation flowed effortlessly, yet there was an undercurrent of unspoken feelings. Calla's heart raced with a mix of excitement and fear. Did she feel more than friendship for Aster? Every word exchanged was filled with a tenderness that went beyond mere connection. But they both hesitated, unsure of how to voice the deeper feelings budding within them. "Do you ever think about what it would be like to meet in person?" Calla asked, her voice laced with a mix of excitement and apprehension. "I do," Aster admitted, her heart racing. "But it feels so far away. What if it's not what we thought?" Calla bit her lip, the weight of her longing settling heavily in her chest. "I think it could be even better," she replied, pushing through the uncertainty. "We've built something beautiful here. Imagine being able to experience it in person." The idea lingered in the air, a magnetic pull drawing them closer yet pushing them apart. Aster felt a rush of longing mixed with fear. "You're right. I want to make it happen." "Then let's plan for it. Maybe Bali?" Calla suggested, her excitement bubbling over. "Bali, that sounds dreamy." Aster's voice trailed off as her mind raced with possibilities. But could they handle the reality of being together? Okay, let's keep it as a dream for now. But we can make it happen someday. Calla said, her tone light, but the depth of her words not lost on either of them. As they continued to chat about poetry and work, both women felt a strange sense of confusion. Their hearts danced with unacknowledged feelings, their laughter echoing through the screen. But the admission of those feelings remained unspoken. Instead, they immersed themselves in the poetry they shared, weaving their emotions into verses, creating a bridge that brought them closer despite the miles that separated them.
Chapter 3, Closing the Distance.
After weeks of planning, Aster and Calla finally decided to meet in Bali, a tropical paradise where they could explore their feelings without the constraints of distance. The anticipation was electric, but so were the doubts that danced around in their minds. I can't believe it's really happening, Calla exclaimed during one of their video calls, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I know. I've booked my flight and found a cute villa near the beach. It's perfect for us, Aster said, her excitement bubbling over as she flipped through photos on her laptop. Look at this place. It has a private pool and is just a short walk from the beach. Calla leaned closer to her screen, her heart racing. Oh, wow, that looks amazing. I can already picture us lounging by the pool, sipping cocktails while the sun sets. The image made Aster smile, but a hint of worry crept into her tone. I feel like I'm daydreaming. What if things are different in person? What if it's not what we expect? Whatever happens, the thing is, we will meet and know each other in flesh and bones. Calla reassured her, her gaze steady, filled with warmth. I've imagined this moment so many times, and I can't help but think it's going to be amazing. Just think about it. We'll finally be in the same place, breathing the same air. I know, Aster said, biting her lip. But what if it feels awkward? We've only known each other through a screen. True, but we've shared so much already. Our late night talks, our silly inside jokes, and all those poems. I think we have a solid foundation, Calla replied, her voice softening. Besides, we'll have Bali's beautiful beaches to break the ice. Aster giggled, imagining themselves walking along the shore, the waves lapping at their feet. Okay, you're right. And what about the food? I've heard Balinese cuisine is incredible. Yes. We can try all the local dishes like nasi goreng and satay lilit. And don't forget about the fresh coconuts. Calla's excitement was contagious, her cheeks flushed with enthusiasm. I can already taste it, Aster exclaimed, daydreaming about sharing meals under the stars. And what about activities? We have to explore the temples, go snorkeling, and maybe take a yoga class. Oh, definitely. And I want to get a massage on the beach, Calla added, a dreamy smile spreading across her face. Just imagine us relaxing, feeling the ocean breeze. Stop, you're making me want to pack my bags right now. Aster laughed, but inside, her heart raced with a mixture of thrill and anxiety. But what if we do not connect in real life? Calla's expression softened. Aster, no matter what, I believe our connection is real. We wouldn't be planning this trip if we didn't feel something special for each other. Just think of it as a new adventure. You're right. It is an adventure, Aster agreed, her heart swelling with hope. I just want it to be awesome. It will be. We're going to make amazing memories together. I can't wait to finally hold you in my arms, Calla said, her voice low and sincere. The longing in Calla's words made Aster's breath catch. Me too. Just thinking about it sends shivers down my spine. I want to be lost in that moment. Let's make a pact. No matter what happens, we promise to be honest with each other. If something feels off, we talk about it, Calla suggested, her eyes locked onto Aster's. That way, we can enjoy our time together without any misunderstandings. Aster nodded, grateful for Calla's reassuring presence. I promise. This is our chance to explore not just Bali, but also what we can become together. With that promise hanging in the air, they both felt a newfound determination. Their trip was no longer just a fantasy. It was a real opportunity to bridge the gap between their digital love and the reality that awaited them. As their call ended, Aster lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, imagining the moment they would finally meet. Would she feel the same spark? Would Calla's touch send butterflies racing through her stomach? She hoped so. With the thought of Bali and the journey ahead, Aster closed her eyes and drifted into dreams filled with palm trees, laughter, and the woman she couldn't wait to embrace.
Chapter 4 The Meeting.
The day had finally arrived. Aster's heart raced as she stepped off the plane, her breath catching in her throat as she moved through the bustling airport. This is real, she thought, her hands slightly trembling with nervous anticipation. She had imagined this moment over and over, but now that it was happening, the weight of it was overwhelming. As she made her way past travelers and colorful shops filled with souvenirs, her thoughts were consumed by one person, Calla. Would she recognize her instantly? Would their connection feel the same, or would the distance that had once defined them suddenly feel like a wall? Her mind buzzed with excitement and fear. She reached their arrival gates, her eyes darting through the crowd, searching. Where is she? And then time seemed to freeze. Aster's gaze locked on a figure standing by the exit Calla. There she was. Just as beautiful as Aster had imagined, maybe even more so. The sunlight filtering through the large glass windows bathed Calla in a warm glow. Her sun-kissed skin radiant under Bali's tropical sky. Aster's breath hitched. She's real. She's right here. Aster! Calla shouted, her eyes lighting up the moment she saw her. In an instant, she was moving, her body practically running toward Aster, her smile wide and unrestrained. Before Aster could fully process it, Calla's arms were around her, pulling her close in a tight embrace. Their bodies pressed together, the warmth of Calla's skin seeping into Aster's, igniting something deep inside her. It wasn't just the warmth of the tropical sun, it was something more primal, a fire that had been burning beneath the surface all this time. I can't believe we're finally here, Aster whispered into Calla's ear, her voice catching with emotion as she held on, breathing in Calla's scent, a mix of sea salt and something sweet. The familiarity of it wrapped around her like a blanket. Calla pulled back just enough to look into Aster's eyes, her face inches away. I know, I've been counting the days, the hours, every second until this moment. Her voice was soft, almost breathless, her fingers still gripping Aster's waist. And now, here we are. Aster let out a nervous laugh, her heart thudding so loudly she swore Calla could hear it. I was so scared I'd be awkward, or that you wouldn't recognize me. How could I not recognize you? Calla murmured, her eyes softening as her hand gently cupped Aster's cheek. I've memorized every detail of your face through that screen. But you're even more beautiful in person. Aster blushed under the intensity of Calla's gaze, her pulse quickening. I could say the same about you. You're glowing. Calla smiled, her thumb brushing softly across Aster's lips. It's because of you. You have no idea how long I've wanted to do this. She leaned in slowly, hesitantly, her breath mingling with Aster's, waiting for a sign that it was okay. At that moment, with the world bustling around them, Aster closed the small distance between them, her lips meeting Calla in a tender, tentative kiss. It was soft at first, a gentle press, but the second their lips touched, something inside them both cracked open. The months of longing, of waiting, of imagining this moment, it all surged forward at once.
Chapter 5 Realization.
Aster's hands slid up Calla's back, pulling her closer as the kiss deepened. Calla's fingers under Aster's ears, her lips warm and urgent against Aster's own. The airport disappeared, the noise fading into nothing. It was just them finally together after months of being worlds apart. When they broke apart, both breathless, Calla rested her forehead against Aster's, her fingers tracing delicate patterns on her arm. "Wow," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "That was worth the wait." Aster laughed softly, her lips still tingling from the kiss. "It was better than I ever imagined." Calla bit her lip, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Well, we've got a whole week in Bali to see just how much better it can get." The words sent a thrill through Aster's body, and she nodded, suddenly eager to see what awaited them outside the confines of the airport. "Let's get out of here." "I want to see the villa." At that moment, with the world bustling around them, Aster Calla smiled, her hand slipping into Aster's, their fingers intertwining as if they had always belonged together. "Lead the way." The ride to the villa was filled with stolen glances, shy smiles, and the occasional brush of their hands. Close the small distance between them, her lips meeting Calla in a tender, tentative kiss. It was soft at first, a gentle press, but the second their lips touched, something inside them both cracked open. The months of longing, of waiting, of imagining this moment, it all surged forward at once. Aster couldn't stop looking at Calla, admiring how she seemed even more stunning up close. Her laugh, the way she spoke, even the way she looked out the window at the passing streets, it all felt surreal. "Tell me what you're thinking," Calla said, breaking the comfortable silence as their car moved through the busy streets of Bali. Aster blinked, caught off guard by the question. "I was just thinking, I can't believe we're here, together. It still feels like a dream. Our feelings are real. We never talk about this, but there we just kiss as if just a regular thing between us." Calla smiled, squeezing Aster's hand. "It's real. I'm right here, and you're right here. Our unspoken feelings can no longer be hidden. Aster, now I am finally sure that I like you so much. I'm glad the feelings are mutual between us, Calla." Aster admitted softly, her eyes meeting Calla's. "I've waited for this for so long. It feels like everything is finally falling into place." Calla kissed Aster's hand gently, then looked at Aster's eyes. "I'm really glad you liked my poem and commented on that special night." Aster can't help but kiss Calla tenderly. When they finally arrived at the villa, the beauty of the place stunned them both. It was as picturesque as Aster had promised, an intimate space with lush gardens, a private pool, and the beach just beyond. But none of it compared to the excitement simmering between them. Inside, the air was thick with anticipation. They set their bags down, the reality of their solitude sinking in. Calla's eyes lingered on Aster, her voice barely above a whisper. "Come here." Aster moved without thinking, closing the distance between them as Calla pulled her into another kiss, this one slower, more passionate. Her hands roamed over Calla's back, savoring every inch of her. The feel of Calla's body against hers was intoxicating, and as their kisses grew more fervent, the room filled with soft gasps and moans, their connection deepening in ways they had only dreamed of. In that moment, Bali became more than a destination, it became their escape, a place where their love, once nurtured from afar, could finally blossom without limits.
Chapter 6. Being one with the nature.
The first morning in Bali dawned with the soft, golden light spilling through the villa's curtains. Aster stirred under the sheets, feeling the warm breeze from the open window. Beside her, Calla was still sleeping, her body relaxed and peaceful, a small smile tugging at her lips, even in sleep. Aster watched her for a moment, her heart swelling with a mix of contentment and disbelief. "She's really here beside me," she thought. "We're really together now." "Good morning." Calla's voice broke through Aster's thoughts, soft and husky from sleep. She turned over, blinking her eyes open and meeting Aster's gaze with a sleepy grin. "Is this a dream?" "If it is, I don't ever want to wake up," Aster replied, brushing a lock of hair away from Calla's face before leaning in to press a tender kiss to her lips. Calla's lips parted slightly under the kiss, her hand trailing down Aster's arm. Mm, I could get used to this, Calla murmured against her lips. She shifted closer, her body molding against Aster's, their legs tangling under the sheets. Waking up with you in Bali. Let's make the most of it then, Aster whispered, her lips grazing Calla's neck before pulling away reluctantly. How about we explore the island today? Calla stretched, smiling. I'm all yours. Later that morning, they ventured out into the vibrant streets of Bali. The island was alive with color and sound motorbikes zipped by. Locals smiled warmly as they passed, and the air was filled with the scent of incense and tropical flowers. The culture here was rich and woven into every corner of the island. Did you know that Bali is known as the Island of the Gods? Aster said as they walked hand in hand through Ubud's bustling market, where stalls overflowed with handcrafted goods, vibrant batik fabrics, and intricate silver jewelry. I read about that, Calla replied, her eyes scanning the stalls with curiosity. They have a deep connection to their spirituality. Hinduism is the dominant religion here, and they incorporate their beliefs into every aspect of life. Aster nodded, pointing to a small shrine near one of the market stalls. See the offerings? You'll see those everywhere at temples, homes, and even businesses. They believe in maintaining harmony between humans, nature, and the gods. Calla smiled, taking in the sight. It's beautiful. There's something peaceful about how everything seems to be in balance here. They continued exploring, visiting the stunning rice terraces of Tegalalan, where the emerald green fields stretched endlessly into the horizon. The tranquility of the landscape was intoxicating, and Aster and Calla found a quiet spot to sit and admire the view. I could stay here forever, Calla sighed, leaning her head on Aster's shoulder. Me too, Aster agreed, wrapping an arm around Calla's waist. But we have so much more to see. They spent the rest of the day wandering the island, visiting sacred temples like Tanawat, where the waves crashed dramatically against the rock formations. Everywhere they went, they were surrounded by the beauty and spirituality that define Bali. As the sun began to set, they found themselves on the beach, the golden light casting a warm glow over the sand. Calla slipped her hand into Aster's as they walked barefoot along the shoreline, the water gently lapping at their feet. I've been reading about the LGBTQ plus community here in Bali, Calla said, glancing at Aster. It's more accepting than other parts of Indonesia, but it's still complicated. Aster nodded, her expression thoughtful. Yeah, Bali is often seen as a haven for LGBTQ travelers because it's more open-minded. The tourism industry here embraces diversity, and there are even a few LGBTQ-friendly spaces. But the rest of Indonesia isn't as tolerant. Same-sex relationships aren't illegal, but they're still not widely accepted. Calla sighed, brushing her thumb over Aster's knuckles. It's hard to imagine what it must be like for the locals who don't have the same freedom we do. I feel grateful but also sad knowing that it's not the same for everyone. Aster squeezed her hand, her voice soft. Yeah, it makes me appreciate what we have even more. Being able to hold your hand in public, to kiss you on this beach without fear, that's something a lot of people still can't do. They walked in silence for a few moments, the weight of their conversation settling over them. But despite the reality of the challenges, there was something powerful about being here together, in a place that, for now, felt like their own paradise. I'm glad we're here, Calla said after a while. Stopping to face Aster, her eyes were bright with emotion, her voice barely above a whisper, and I'm glad we took this leap. Aster smiled, her heart swelling with affection. Me too, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. They stood there, bathed in the warm hues of the setting sun, the world around them fading into the background as they leaned in, their lips meeting in a slow, passionate kiss. The kiss deepened, fueled by the freedom and excitement of finally being together after all the months of waiting. Calla's hands roamed over Aster's back, pulling her closer as the soft breeze tangled in their hair. I want you, Calla whispered breathlessly, her forehead resting against Aster's. Right here, right now. Aster's pulse quickened, her body already responding to the urgency in Calla's voice. Here? Calla's lips curved into a mischievous smile. Why not? We're in Bali. Let's make it unforgettable. Without another word, Aster took Calla's hand, leading her to a secluded spot behind a cluster of rocks. The waves crashed nearby, the sound creating a rhythm that mirrored the pounding of their hearts. They stood under the fading light, the warmth of the day still lingering in the air as their lips found each other once again. Aster's hands slid down Calla's sides, fingers grazing over the fabric of her dress, feeling the heat of her skin beneath. Calla let out a soft moan, her hands fisting in Aster's hips as the kiss deepened, their bodies pressed together. The intensity of their connection, heightened by the beauty of their surroundings, was electric. Every touch, every kiss felt like it held the weight of the months they had spent apart, the distance they had conquered to be here together. As the sun finally dipped below the horizon, casting the world in soft twilight, they lost themselves in each other, the beach around them becoming their own private world. The sound of the ocean mingled with their breathless whispers, the soft rustling of clothes, and the urgent touch of hands exploring skin. In that moment, everything else faded away, and all that remained was the undeniable pull between them, the passion that had been simmering for so long, now finally unleashed. When they finally lay together, spent and tangled in each other's arms, the stars twinkling above them, Aster pressed a soft kiss to Calla's temple. This is only the beginning. Calla smiled, her hand resting on Aster's chest, feeling the steady rhythm of her heartbeat. I can't wait to see where we go from here. Even as they reveled in the perfection of the moment, both of them knew that the real world was waiting, and with it, the challenges that came with a long-distance relationship. For now, though, they held on to each other, savoring the magic of Bali and the certainty that whatever came next, they would face it together.
Chapter 7, The Last Sunset.
The final day of their Bali vacation arrived much too quickly, like a sunset that you wished would linger a little longer on the horizon. Aster woke up first, watching the soft rise and fall of Calla's chest as she slept. The villa was quiet, the morning air cool and heavy with the scent of jasmine and sea salt. But instead of peace, a knot of dread twisted in Aster's stomach. Ever they would return to their separate lives, thousands of miles apart. Calla stirred, her hand instinctively reaching for Aster, her fingers brushing over her bare skin. Morning, she murmured, her eyes fluttering open. Her smile was sleepy, her lips soft and inviting. Come back to bed. Aster leaned down, pressing a gentle kiss to Calla's lips. I wish I could stay like this forever. Calla sat up slowly, the sheet slipping off her shoulders, revealing her skin bathed in the soft morning light. Why does it feel like the end of something? Her voice trembled, the weight of the inevitable departure settling between them. Aster sat beside her, the heaviness in her chest making it hard to breathe. Because we both know what comes next, she whispered, her hand trailing down Calla's back, feeling the warmth of her skin. We go back to our separate lives. To being apart. Calla's face crumpled slightly, the reality hitting her like a wave. She had been avoiding the thought all week, clinging to every moment with Aster as if it would somehow make time stop. But now, it was crashing down on her. How are we going to do this, Aster? Her voice broke, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I can't imagine going back to just texts and calls after everything we've shared. Aster's heart ached at the sight of Calla's tears, and she cupped her face, their foreheads pressing together. I don't know, she admitted, her voice raw with emotion. I've been trying not to think about it. Being here with you has been so perfect, so real. But now it feels like I'm losing something I just found. Calla let out a shaky breath, her tears finally spilling over. I don't want to go back to just being an idea in your phone. I want more than this. Aster pulled Calla into her arms, holding her tightly as her own tears began to fall. Me too, Calla. I want more too. But how do we make this work? How do we survive being apart after knowing what it's like to be together? Calla buried her face in Aster's neck, her sobs quiet but heart-wrenching. I love you, Aster. I didn't expect to, but I do. And I don't know what to do with that when you're so far away. Aster's breath caught in her throat at the confession. She pulled back slightly, searching Calla's tear-streaked face. You love me? Calla nodded, her eyes shining with both love and pain. I do. I don't know how it happened, but I can't imagine my life without you now. Aster's chest tightened, and she kissed Calla with a desperation that matched the turmoil inside her. The kiss was soft at first, a tender reassurance that they were still here, still together. But soon it deepened, fueled by the fear of losing each other. Calla's fingers tangled in Aster's hair, pulling her closer as if she could imprint this moment into her memory forever. Aster's hands roamed over Calla's body, her touch urgent and reverent, as if she were memorizing every curve, every inch of skin. Calla's breath hitched as Aster's lips moved down her neck, over her collarbone, tracing a path of heat and longing. I need you, Calla whispered, her voice thick with desire and heartache. One more time before we go. Aster's heart pounded as she pressed Calla back against the bed, her body covering hers, their legs intertwining. The urgency between them was palpable, a mix of passion and sorrow, each kiss and touch carrying the weight of their impending separation. I don't want to leave, Calla whispered, her voice breaking as she clung to Aster, tears slipping down her cheeks again. I don't want this to end. Aster kissed her forehead, her own tears mixing with Calla's. Neither do I, but we have to. For now. They lay in silence for a while, the morning light slowly filling the room, casting long shadows across the floor. Outside, the world was waking up, but inside the villa, it felt as if time had stopped. Eventually, Aster sighed and sat up, running a hand through her messy hair. We have to get ready to leave soon. Calla nodded, but her expression was distant, her mind already spiraling into the reality of going back to her life without Aster. I hate this, she said quietly. I hate that I finally found someone I love, and we're forced apart by distance. Aster turned to her, her eyes filled with determination despite the sadness in her heart. We'll figure it out, Calla. I don't know how yet, but I know I'm not giving up on us. I love you too. The words hung in the air between them, a promise that felt fragile yet powerful. They kissed again, slower this time, savoring the moment before reality would pull them apart. Later, as they stood in the airport, waiting for their respective flights, the heaviness of their impending separation weighed them down. Calla's flight was called first. She turned to Aster, her eyes filled with tears she couldn't hold back anymore. I guess this is it, Calla whispered, her voice shaking. Aster nodded, her own heart breaking. For now. But I'll see you soon, I promise. They hugged tightly, neither wanting to let go, until Calla finally pulled away, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. I love you, Aster. I love you too, Aster replied, her voice thick with emotion. More than I thought possible. Calla gave her a final shaky smile before turning to walk toward her gate. Aster watched her go, her heart aching with every step that took Calla further away. When she finally disappeared from view, Aster felt the full weight of the distance between them settle on her chest. But even as the sadness threatened to overwhelm her, Aster held on to one thought. This wasn't the end. They had come this far, and somehow they would find a way to make it work. Because love, no matter how far apart they were, was worth fighting for.
Hey, heart, before we go on with Calla and Aster's story, please hit like and subscribe. Thanks.
Chapter 8. Closing the Distance. Weeks had passed since Bali, and the distance between Aster and Calla felt even heavier than before. The texts, calls, and video chats that had once kept them connected now seemed like a thin thread, stretched too tight and too fragile. Every "I miss you" felt more painful, every "good night" like a small heartbreak. Aster had thrown herself into her work, hoping it would distract her from the ache of missing Calla, but every time she opened her phone, there was Calla, her smile in a photo, her voice in a message, her love in the words they shared across time zones. It wasn't enough anymore. The nights felt longer and lonelier, and no matter how busy she kept herself, her heart always wandered back to Calla. One evening, while pacing her apartment and debating whether to send a good morning message to Calla, her phone buzzed with an incoming video call. Aster's heart skipped a beat. It was Calla. She answered quickly, trying to mask her excitement. "Hey, you," she greeted softly. Calla's face filled the screen, looking tired but beautiful as ever. "Hey," she replied, her voice quieter than usual. Aster's heart clenched. "Is everything okay?" "You look, I quit my job," Calla blurted out, her voice cracking slightly. Aster's mouth dropped open. "What, Calla? What happened?" Calla shook her head, her eyes filling with unshed tears. "I couldn't do it anymore. The distance. Everything just felt wrong without you. I thought I could manage, but every day without you just... It hurts too much, Aster. I don't care about being away from home if it means I can't be with you." Aster's heart pounded in her chest as she processed Calla's words. "What do you mean away from home, Calla?" Calla took a deep breath, her eyes softening as she looked at Aster. "I've thought about this a lot. I don't want to be apart from you anymore. I want to be where you are, Aster. I don't care if I have to start over. We've been apart for too long, and I can't take it anymore." For a moment, Aster couldn't speak, her mind racing to catch up with the enormity of Calla's decision. But then the tears came, and she let out a shaky laugh, her heart swelling with love. "You're really coming to me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Calla nodded, a smile breaking through her tears. "Yes, I love you, and I don't want to be apart anymore." Aster wiped away her own tears, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. "I can't believe this is happening," she murmured. "I've missed you so much, Calla. I thought this would remain a dream of being with you." Calla smiled softly. "Well, dream no more. I'm booking my flight as soon as we hang up. I'll be there in a few days." The night before Calla was set to leave, she called Aster, her voice sounding both anxious and excited. "I can't wait to see you," Calla whispered through the phone. "But I wish you were here now." Aster smiled softly, her heart racing at the sound of Calla's voice. "I wish I was there too." "I miss you so much, Calla. Do you ever think about the nights in Bali?" Calla asked, her voice dipping lower, a playful tone in her words. "Every day," Aster replied, her own voice growing huskier. "I can still feel your touch on my skin. I miss that, the way you made me feel," Calla said, her breath catching in her throat. "I need you, Aster, right now." Aster felt the heat rising in her body as Calla's words lingered in the air. She closed her eyes, imagining Calla's hands on her, the way they had explored each other's bodies in Bali. "I want you too, Calla," Aster whispered, her hand sliding down her body as she gave in to the longing she had kept buried for too long. "Tell me how you'd touch me if I was there." Calla breathed, her voice a sultry whisper that sent shivers down Aster's spine. Aster's heart raced as she let herself get lost in the fantasy. "I'd start slow, my hands on your hips, pulling you close. Then I'd kiss you right where I know you love it." Calla's soft moans echoed through the phone, and Aster's own breath quickened as they whispered their desires, their words tangling together in a haze of passion and longing. The distance between them melted away as their connection deepened in a way that only they understood. It wasn't just physical, it was the culmination of weeks of yearning, of nights spent apart, of whispers in the dark. And for that brief moment, it felt like they were together again, their love bridging the miles between them. The next morning, Aster woke up to a message from Calla. Flight booked. I'll be there soon. Her heart soared as she read those words. After all the waiting, all the pain of being apart, Calla was coming to her. For real this time. The next few days passed in a blur of anticipation. Aster could hardly focus on work, her thoughts consumed with Calla's arrival. She had cleaned her apartment twice, rearranged the furniture, and even bought flowers for Calla's arrival. The thought of finally having her close no screens, no distance felt surreal. On the day Calla's flight arrived, Aster stood anxiously at the airport, her heart pounding in her chest. She scanned the crowd of arriving passengers, her eyes darting around in search of the familiar face she had dreamed of for so long. And then there she was. Calla walked through the gates, her suitcase rolling behind her, her eyes locking onto Aster's with a smile that made Aster's heart leap. Aster! Calla called out, waving as she hurried toward her. Aster didn't hesitate. She rushed forward, her arms outstretched, and when they finally collided in a tight embrace, everything else faded away. The noise of the airport, the bustle of people, it all disappeared. It was just them, together at last. I missed you so much, Calla whispered into Aster's ear, her voice trembling with emotion. I missed you too, Aster replied, her voice thick with tears. I can't believe you're here. This feels like a dream. Calla pulled back slightly, cupping Aster's face in her hands. No more dreams. We're together now. Their lips met in a soft, lingering kiss, one filled with all the love, the longing, and the promises they had shared from miles apart. Now, those promises were real. Alla turned to Aster with a smile. I used to think love like this only existed in poems, she said softly. But now I know it's real.
Thank you, heart. Till next time. Love is love. Moi.